well, we have spoken historically about like your Ipswiches and about the teams that do well and they spread the goals around the team. So in the top 24 goal scorers this season in League One, we've got 5 people in that stat now. So we've got Alfie May, Jay Stansfield, Williamson, Iwata and Keshi Anderson. We've got 5 players in the top 24 of the entire division in the top goal scorers list. So again, it shows now that we are spreading the goals around the team. And to me, that shows a quality team. When you can spread the goals around, it's a really good sign. And also, one final thing for me, Chris Davies in his post-match interview, I want to get your reaction to this because I did love this quote. Possession is a consequence of our style, not an objective. So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And on Tuesday evening, Birmingham City beat Bolton Wanderers 2-0 in a truly fantastic display. And again, another dominant performance from the Blues. And that makes it 9 wins out of 11 and the best ever start to a league campaign in our club's history. Absolutely amazing. So, Dad, Birmingham City 2, Bolton Wanderers 0. What are your thoughts on the game?
Well, before we get in the game, we met Tom Wagner. He was in the fan park. We didn't know he was going to be there. He was in the fan park when we got there. And we had a photograph with him, and Gary Cook was there as well. So it's really nice to see the owners just mingling with the fans. You know, I think that it shows that Tom Wagner gets us, that he wants to be part of the fan base and make himself accessible, and he certainly did. That was really nice meeting him, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of people posted pictures with him, Dad, and the captions were often, I can't believe the owner of our club is buying beers and mixing with the fans, and it just makes him so much more relatable. He gets us, I think, as a fan base, and, you know, it's great to see him. And, you know, I exchanged a few words about my hat and about the club shop. Very quick, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, but really nice bloke. Clearly had a lot of time for everyone, and first time meeting him, so that was really nice.
Yeah, really, really nice, and a good result for him as well. I always like it when Tom's there because obviously he invested a lot of money and time into the club already, and to have the performance that we got, it wasn't just the result, was it? It's the performance that's what really got me, particularly the first half. We'll come on to that in a minute. But you said, Matt, top of the league. I mean, 28 points from 11 games is staggering.
I know.
You can only get a maximum of 33. And we sit right at the top of that table now, 28 points, 4 points clear of Wrexham, who got a game in hand over, and 5 points clear over, I think it's Wickham. Is it Wickham or Mansfield in third anyway?
It's Wickham in third, Mansfield in fourth.
Yeah, so there's a gap there, you know, already, and we just got to keep the momentum going. But we did find that, you know, that Bolton were expected to give us a challenge because don't forget, they was in the playoff final last year. But overall, as you said, Matt, we really dominated it. They had 1 or 2 little moments. We'll get into the game, if you like, and discuss what we thought about the performance.
As you say, there was like 5 or 10 minutes in the second half where we kind of lost our shape a little bit. But if you ignore that, I mean, the first half especially was complete domination. It was boys amongst men, weren't it, Dad? And what was really good in the first half was we out-battled them. We out-physicaled them. We won all our battles. And, you know, Dad, we sat here last season in the Championship. How many times did we say, no bottle, no battle, no determination, no grit? And that was Bolton last night. They didn't turn up. You know, we completely out-battled them. So credit to Chris Davies, credit to Blues. We set up really well. And, I was really, really impressed with that
That's a good point, that is, Matt. I think it's worth emphasising that is because we can always focus on the football, passing the ball nicely, scoring goals, etc. But what we often miss is the hard work of the team. I turned around to you, didn't I? Said we worked so hard. So when we did lose the ball, they're like beasts swarming around the players, and that was all over the pitch as well. And that can't be underestimated, how different that is, like you said, from last season, but how important that is. In fact, actually, the first goal that we scored early on came about because Paik had a double tackle in midfield, didn't he? And then actually won the ball. But we'll come on to that.
I was going to say, because a lot of people thought we might get bullied at the League One level, or we might, it's a very physical league, isn't it? Whereas the Championship's a bit more technical, League One's a bit more physical. And people thought we might not have that battle in us or that fight in us. And we are just going to absolutely destroying teams on the physical element of the game as well. So nice to see, because as I said, that was missing last season. So the group seems so together. There's so much battle and fight and grit and spirit there. And that first half, Dad, that was a completely dominating performance. But more specific than that, Iwata and Paik. And again, Dad, we can come over to the individual performances in a minute, but they completely controlled that game from start to finish.
They also changed Bolton's tactics. Again, we're sort of preempting the game a little bit here, but in the second half, Bolton came out to bypass the midfield completely. In the second half, they must have had a team talk about what happened in the first half and said, we can't go through this midfield. And they started to pit all their balls along balls.
Yeah.
They didn't try and go for the midfield at all. And that's a testament to the midfielder. Just to very briefly on the starting lineup, I was a little bit surprised to see Emil Hansen in the team because he went off injured at half time or just after, whenever it was, against Lincoln. So it was a real surprise to see him in the starting lineup. But he did, and obviously he went off injured again. And Ethan Laird back in the starting lineup as well. So that was nice to see him. I don't think Garden Hickman, again, as we said before, has done anything wrong. But I think it's maybe to give him a break because Garden Hickman's played a lot of games. So maybe it's to give him a bit of a break because he came on a little bit later. Bielek is still injured. But we had Ben Davies, who I thought was immense again, alongside Clara. And don't forget, we've got Dion Sanderson now on the bench. He's not getting a look in at the moment. So even with injuries, we have the ability to put out a very, very strong team. Alfie May as well, which I thought was great in his natural number 9 position. Which
he looks so much more comfortable there.
He's much happier.
And his link-up play is incredible. Again, even in that first 10 or 15 minutes, we were going at him. And if you look at the chances that we created during that time, it was Alfie May's little flicks, little runs, pulling people out of position. When he's on his game and he's buzzing around like a bee, as you always often say on this podcast, Dad, he makes such a difference. He makes just as much difference off the ball as he does on the ball. Because if you watch his runs, he's just pulling everyone out from left to right. And
that creates spaces for us because you have to follow him, but he's so fast that players have to track him. But that's creating spaces off. So if he's moving into positions and taking players with him, that's creating spaces for other players. So there's a lot more to Alfie May's game than goal scoring. A lot more. I've been really impressed with him, and
he's amazing. He's incredible.
He was involved in the first goal. So firstly, the good news is we didn't go off to a slow start. We got off to a fast start for a game.
Absolutely. I can't believe, because when we scored and it was 3 minutes in, me and you almost looked at each other, didn't we, Des? As if to say, "Is us that scored for once?" Because normally,
this is a strange feeling. What happens now?
But I mean, in famous history, Dad, I'm always the one that talks us through the goals. Let's have your moment to shine. Do you want to talk us through the first goal?
The ball was pinging around in midfield, and there was a 50-50 ball, which Pate won 2 tackles and freed the ball up. He played it over to the right to Alfie May. Alfie May gets the crossing, and I think it was aimed for Williamson, but their defender got there first, and their defender looped the ball to Iwata just outside the box. Well, what a strike that was! I mean, he just pinged that into the goal, and I mean the whole place absolutely erupted with that.
I mean,
what a goal!
The technical ability to take that in the way he did, because it was just unbelievable. It had power, it had accuracy. As I said, the technique to take that the way he did was absolutely incredible.
He's really intelligent. I'll tell you why. If you watch it, he didn't try and put his laces through it. He actually placed it. You see, that was actually a side foot.
But it had a lot of power.
Yes,
but it was just absolutely incredible.
It was a good goal. That was a really, really good goal. And he's got a habit of scoring goals from that distance, hasn't he?
He scored 4 goals for us this season, if you include the cup game at Shrewsbury, and all 4 of his goals have been screamers.
Yeah, and apparently as well, in his whole career, he's only ever scored 12 goals before. And he scored 4 goals in a short amount of games since he's been
That's
here.
amazing.
I think he's an absolutely immense sign. And every podcast, Blues fans, that we talk about Iwata, every time he's getting better and better. And I always can't understand how Celtic let him go. I don't care, but I just can't believe that we actually got him.
How is he playing in League One? And Paik? I mean, to be fair, you could, not to be arrogant here, but you could go across a lot of our team and question, they could be playing at a higher level. But Paik and Iwata, especially for me, in that midfield, are just the Rolls Royce of the centre mids.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and, that was 1-0 up early on. You see, when you're 1-0 up as well, it doesn't take the pressure off you, but it does make the game flow a little bit easier for you because you're not chasing it from the very beginning. Yeah.
And it means League One teams can't burn the clock down and do all the naughty tricks and do all that.
But it showed, though, because it showed once we had that goal, the players settled down. And I actually put a tweet at half-time on our X account that in my opinion, I've been watching Blues a long time. That's the best first half of football I've seen in, I'd probably say, over 30 years. It was that good in terms of the way we're playing it, the comfortableness of it. It was absolutely. I mean, I'd like to have seen more end product, obviously, because it's great playing pretty football, but ultimately you want to convert that into goals. And if we did have another goal, it would have made it much more comfortable.
We should have killed that game off quite a few times.
Yeah, you're right, because always at 1-0, you're always there's always a possibility that you could make a mistake, you could have a penalty against you, it could be a bad refereeing decision. And and all that brilliant plays is completely unravelled if they equalise, which thankfully they didn't. But could we? I mean, that's the only, not criticism, but the only thing I'd like to have seen in the first half. I'd like to have seen all that wonderful football and pressure converted into another goal.
I'm going to back you, Dad. I've not seen a Blues half like that before in my lifetime. We absolutely dominated from start to finish. They barely got to touch the ball. I think the biggest roar that came from the Bolton fans was a tackle. That's the lack, and they just didn't have the ball.
Yeah.
They didn't have the ball.
Yeah.
And Ian Evatt came out at the end of the game, Dad, and said they were unlucky not to get something from the game because they had those two minor chances. But if we took our chances, it would have been 10-2. But if you're going to look at it with that microscope on, yes, they could have had that chance towards the end of the game, maybe 1 or 2 goals, but we should have scored. Do you reckon 6 or 7? Decent chances that we had.
Yeah, we did. But like you said, I know we had this conversation as well, Matt. It is no matter, even if you're Manchester City or one of the top, Real Madrid, even their opposition at some point they get phases or chances in games.
Yeah,
Every team does. That's why when you do get your chances, you have to put them away. I'd like to have seen us be. I'm not getting me wrong. We've got 3 points. We're playing well. We're top of the league. This ain't about criticising the team. It's an observation that how I think that we could make ourselves a little bit more comfortable in terms of getting more goals at crucial times. After 10 minutes, Emil Hansen was injured again. He went down and he was replaced by Mark Leonard. And it was very interesting what Chris Davies did there, isn't it? So, can you remember what he did? He put
Leonard in the 10.
He put Mark Leonard in the 10, didn't he?
And then
Williamson on the right and Anderson he put over to the left. I found that really interesting that he did that because that was unexpected, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we've spoken after that. We don't like Williamson on the right. He's a much better number 10. But fair play to Mark Leonard. I mean, I think every player for Blues had a good game, but Mark Leonard played good in the number 10 as well. When Williamson went out wide, he was just as good out wide as he was in the number 10. I still prefer him in that position. But yeah, I agree. I think we were all sort of scratching heads without me going, Mark Leonard in the 10, because normally he's at 6, isn't he? But he hasn't been getting in the team.
When he brings Mark Leonard on, he's normally taking either Packer or Iwata off.
Yeah.
So, and then he's leaving them on. So that means we had 3 of them on the pitch. And then we looked at the shape of the team. But, they're all, like you said, Matt, they're all comfortable footballers. And actually, I was really glad to see Mark Leonard get a real good chunk of a game,
Just look at what Mark Leonard does. A bit like Paik, he flies. We all know Paik is an outstanding player, but they're more subtle players, that completely change and manoeuvre through games. Yeah. And Mark Leonard's one of them for me. He doesn't do things obviously, but if you look at him closely, he completely changes the game.
He reminds me of a style of player like N'Golo Kante, that he's in a team that does such a lot for the team, doesn't score a load of goals, but if you take him out the team is not as effective. Yeah. I really like Mark Leonard. I think he's a really good player, and it's great to have him. That he can come on or start a game, but he's a quality player.
If we're going to be brutally honest, Dad, me and you have spoken really highly about Mark Leonard, but he's not going to get in over Iwata and Paik. The number 6 is done. If they're fully fit, and Chris Davies is pitching our strongest team, Mark Leonard doesn't start, sadly, in the context of his usual position in the 6. Really interesting there with that substitution. But he didn't impact the game. In fact, we went at them even more, if anything.
That was still in the first half.
Yeah, exactly.
We could have done with half time not coming, really. Yeah. And we had a passage of play. I think the referee added on something ridiculous, like 6 or 7 minutes at the end of the first half. And within that 6 or 7 minutes, it was like a training game. We were just passing the ball around. Yeah. In fact, we were thinking, are they looking at the clock on the big screen? Just have a shot.
Yeah.
But we kept possession for about 5 minutes. It was absolutely ridiculous. Then the blue for half time. I think we had a goal disallowed for offside. I think Alfie May in the first half was offside or deemed to be offside. And obviously that was half time. And then second half, I think for the first, again, I think the second half gives teams the opportunity to regroup. I'm talking about Bolton now particularly. And they did come out at us for the first 5 minutes, actually come out strong. And I think Ian Evatt in his post-match interview was saying that, their plan was to try and keep it tight and then have a go for the last 15, 20 minutes or whatever. But they came out quite strong in the second half for the first 5 minutes and put a lot of pressure on us. And they became more physical, I felt, as well, that they were pushing us around a little bit more. And it took us a few minutes just to adjust to that. And then we started to ping the ball around again and pass the ball around again. Alfie May had a big chance, didn't he?
I think he got caught in 2 minds, didn't he? He didn't know whether to shoot or take it around the keeper, and he kind of got muddled in this mindset and quite didn't knock it past him enough, and the keeper just kind of
he would have been. I think with hindsight, he would have been better off shooting, because what he did was I think he likes to do that. We've seen him score goals like that before, where he's took it close to the goalkeeper and took it
away.
Yes, but this time there was obviously some two big defenders around him, so really he should have had a shot, because if he had a shot, either the goalkeeper goes in, the goalkeeper makes the save. It could be deflected, it could go out for a corner, we could go to one of our players, but he didn't. He tried to overplay it a little bit, and I think with hindsight, he'd realised that he'd probably. But you know, you can't really sort of put yourself in the foot of a striker, in the mind of a striker, because their instinct is to want to score, but they have to sort of make their mind up in that moment, don't they?
Yeah.
That was the wrong decision in my decision.
Was, yeah. But you know, again, another chance on the board. Ethan Laird had a really good header where the keeper did an incredible save. You know, I would have loved for Ethan Laird
I was good.
yeah.
Even him, he sort of flopped his head back in the end because he thought, I thought I'd scored it in his mind. But yeah, and that was a little dink from Iwata as well that dinked it over, and he was really close. It actually was a very, very good save by, is it Southwood, their goalkeeper? I think it is, yeah. But
he's a good keeper. He is.
Yeah. But that was a good save, and Ethan nearly got his first goal for us. So it was still deep into the game. It was still 1-0 to us, and there was always a chance. And then they made a good substitution. Actually, they brought on John McTee, and he was number 45. He's a big lad, and I don't know why he didn't start for them. I'm glad he didn't, but I don't know why he didn't. Big lad. He put himself about. He was putting tackles in, and he's the one that had all the. I think he had 3 good chances over the whole game to score, but he didn't. I mean, Ryan Allsop made that really good save just prior to our second goal, where McAtee went through. I think it was a slip in the first instance from us. McAtee went through, and Ryan Allsop made a great save with his. I think it was his leg, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But what I noticed as well, if you look at that as well, behind him you've got Ben Davies running right round.
I saw that. He almost got tangled in the net because he was running around so quickly.
So even if the ball had gone past,
he might have got it.
The possibility that that Ben Davies was there, and a big shout out to him as well. I thought he had a solid game again.
It was a good game. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that those chances started to come for Bolton. By the way, this has no impact on Taylor Gardner-Hickman. This is not an impact on Jay Stansfield either. This is just an observation that when those subs were made, when Stansfield came on and Hickman came on, they did well when they came on, by the way. But when those subs came on, I think it disrupted our shape a little bit.
Yeah, I've made note of that. That's what I've put.
Yeah, nothing major here. Yeah. It's not as if we, went to pot or anything like that. We were still fine. I just felt like the shape was a little bit more disruptive, and that's when Bolton arguably had those 1 or 2 chances where they went
substitutions does one of 2 things. It either gives you more progressive play, or it changes the shape and it allows the other team to come on. So I think in this particular game, I think it gave Bolton a little bit more space, because I think the substitutes were not that they weren't fully up to speed. They're professional footballers, but they weren't as sort of in the zone of the game as the players that had gone off, so to speak, which is what gave them that impetus.
But overall, Dad, and again, a few more talking points really. But even with those chances that Bolton had, it was a completely dominant performance from us. We really did. First half especially was crazy levels of domination. Even the second half really was dominant. But a word of warning: if you don't take your chances, and Bolton would have scored one, and they could have gone away with a point.
Well,
you just don't know.
We only have to look at the FA Cup over the years. Teams that are supposed to dominate teams sometimes get knocked out because other teams have these breaks, things go against them. But so it can happen. So that was my sort of takeaway from that.
That might sound like we're being really nitpicky. It's like the only negative or improvement even I can pick from the performance. It's just we need to be a bit more clinical, put those chances away, and really put these games to bed when we're on top. And don't let these teams come back into these games.
Yeah, and on that, we only did in the 83rd minute when Keshi Anderson was, and it was a stupid tackle by the. I mean, you give the referee no decision there. It's an obvious penalty, but I mean, Keshi did well again. He went down the left-hand side, just on the edge of the box, actually dinked it past, but the player went straight through him. I think that the player's trailing leg went under him, and that's what flicked him in.
Cleared him out though.
It was an obvious penalty. Yeah. I mean, nobody could complain about that. And then
no Bolton players even argued or complained.
Well, you can't protest. I mean, to be fair to the referee, he did well there because he looked to see if we were going to score from the cross to get an advantage. We didn't go, so we just blew for a penalty. So it was a penalty. Then Jay Stansfield stepped up. I mean, they were giving him or trying to sort of put him off, weren't they? It took a while for that penalty to be taken, didn't they? But a good penalty straight down the middle. Made with power. I mean, I looked at it because obviously we were sort of behind the goal because we were actually in the upper tilt, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it looked like a really, really easy goal. But when I looked at it on the replay, we went home and I had a look at it as well. It goes it down the middle, but it far away from the goalkeeper's legs.
Yeah.
I think if it pinged off there, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It went in. It's 2-0, and that's when it's game over because they're not 83 minutes and then 2-0 up. It's a long way back.
Yeah. I tell you, I don't know whether people saw this. I'll try and put it over the top now as I'm talking, so you can have a look. If I can capture it on the highlights, I certainly will. one of the best things about that goal, when Stansfield scored the penalty, their player, it was even number 22 or 23, I can't remember his name or the exact number, but Taylor Garden-Hickman went over to him and was basically showboating, saying, basically giving him the aggro he was giving to Stansfield before he took the penalty. Again, little things like that show me that this team are united and together, and I love a bit of needle. It's great.
Number 23 was it?
I think it was 23. 22 was...
He's the one that got the stick off the Blues crowd.
Yeah, the one that was nearly crying.
Sean, his name is.
Right.
It's Sean. He's the one that went down. And then he was, I think, didn't the ball go out and he slammed it down?
That's the one.
And then
had an attitude problem.
And the Blues fans were saying you're going to cry in a minute and stuff like that. But so he's the one that they were giving. Okay, that's interesting.
But Taylor Garden-Hickman went straight up to him. Yeah. And also, we didn't mention this about the first goal, Dad. But when Iwata scored, did you see Anderson's reaction? He put his hands on his head as if to say, like, what a screamer. And then Ethan Laird was almost going like, naughty. It was just the celebrations were incredible.
Yeah, I think there was a few late chances as well for Bolton. They had a few. There's one where they went down the left and the ball just went along the line and just out, so over the goal, so there's nobody running in to hit it. Mm-hmm. And then there was another late chance where McAtee put it past the left-hand post as well, so which proves the point that you cannot relax in any game. You've got to be on it all the time. But ultimately, we fully deserve that. Even in Everett, their manager is complimentary, saying he actually said, I've got his words here, they're a really good team, but he said, as always, they should be with the finances they spend.
He said he weren't going to play that card in the pre-match video.
They're good as he said they're as good as I've ever seen at this level. So, but every manager says that. But it's true, isn't it? When we look at the way we play compared to the way other teams play, we try and play football. But Bolton are a physical team. They are going to be in or around the playoffs.
Yeah. So just two final things for me, Dad. One, we talk about. Well, we have spoken historically about like your Ipswiches and about the teams that do well and they spread the goals around the team. So in the top 24 goal scorers this season in League One, we've got 5 people in that stat now. So we've got Alfie May, Jay Stansfield, Williamson, Iwata and Keshi Anderson. We've got 5 players in the top 24 of the entire division in the top goal scorers list. So again, it shows now that we are spreading the goals around the team. And to me, that shows a quality team. And you can spread the goals around, it's a really good sign. And also, one final thing for me, Chris Davies in his post-match interview, I want to get your reaction to this because I did love this quote. Possession is a consequence of our style, not an objective.
Yeah, I saw that.
I loved it.
Yeah, which is good. So he's basically saying we don't train for possession, but the way we play will give us possession.
Exactly.
That's pretty much what he's saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good. But I think basically what he's saying as well, therefore, he's saying that possession, the amount of possession we get, is a reward for the way we play. Mm-hmm. But I've always said to you, and a lot of Blues fans, and other fans will say, well, possession doesn't really mean anything, but unless you score goals, which is actually true. But it means that we've got the ball more than the opposition. So therefore, when we've got the ball, they can't hurt us. So it is a good thing in that way. But of course, we have to make sure, and I think we have said that already, particularly in this game, the lesson is really we need to try and convert some more of those chances. But overall, 70% possession was for this game, which is typical of what we've been doing to other teams as well. For a team in Bolton that like possession themselves, that will probably be the lowest possession they'll ever have all season.
Yeah.
Until we play them again. And then we also kept a clean sheet as well. Mm-hmm. Don't forget that. That was a clean sheet.
True.
And once again, we sort of got over that sort of mental block of starting slowly by getting an early goal. So there's lots of positives from this game in terms of what happened. But the main thing is, Matt, 3 points. 28 points in total, top of the league, and we just got to keep that going. Yeah. Just got to keep it going and not be complacent. Look at every opposition. And these are the teams that you know that are going to be a challenge or supposed to be a challenge to you. It's when we get to play the Crawleys and the Cambridges and the Shrewsburys and the Northamptons and these types of teams that we've got to be completely on our game and not be complacent. I don't think Chris Davies will let us be. But, it really is amazing. And, one final point for me is that, once again, we're playing teams that are fancied. All the teams that we've played, or the vast majority of them, are in the upper half or playoffs or above, whereas some of the teams around us have played a lot of the lower teams. So even we're top of the league playing some of the top teams in this division. And, I think there's a lot more to come from us as well. But really pleased with that. And onto Mansfield now.
It's the best start in our leagues, in our club's history of a league start. Just need to keep momentum going, and as you say, we still need to play a lot of the lower half teams. So it's looking good.
It is looking good.
Looking very good. So as always, Birmingham City supporters, we'd love to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Maybe you want to comment on something me and Dad mentioned in the video. Maybe we missed something, and you want to drop us a comment in the section. Please let us know, and we'll get round to that as quickly as we can. And maybe you're a Bolton Wanderers fan. Maybe you've watched the pre-video. Maybe you've just stumbled across this for the first time. What did you think of the game? Were you particularly disappointed there with that performance? It was, I think, unobjective there, a fair result in the end there. But if you like this video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and you can also listen to us on Spotify now as well. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any future content all about Birmingham City. And myself and Dad will see you on the next video.